Hey guys, this is Jen with JCT Rustic Homestead, and I wanted to, if you introduce or explain a little bit more about my bullet journal. I do have another video about some of my finances and how I've kept track of that. One thing I did forget to mention in it was some of the other tools I use besides just the notebook. This is a Lecterm 1917 size B, I think. And then I just use like a general ruler. It's kind of gross because it's clear, but I just use a ruler for some straight edge things. Some people have them just a 6-inch, so they fit in the notebook a little better. And then I just use a basic pen, any pen that you like, that for blue, black, whatever. And then a lot of journalists use some kind of brush pen. It has a brush end. Hopefully that'll focus on it eventually. And then this one, I wanted a fine point tip for some of the way I like to write and do things. I like the finer tips. And these were the dual brush pen. They were actually probably on the cheaper side, but let's see if we can get that. There we go. They were on the cheaper side. A lot of people like the Tombro pens, but I just didn't want to. Starting out, I wanted to go a little cheaper, and I thought I wanted the brush pens, but now that I've been using them, I'm wondering if I would like more of like the calligraphy type pens, just because of the way that I tend to write. I'm going to talk about oops, not that one. Meal planning and how it relates to our garden. And it can be as complicated as you want it to be. I'm not going to say it's going to be as simple as you want it to be, because my brain works in like 90 different directions sometimes and it gets a little carried away. So this is what I started doing, and it personally just helps me to write things out. Like when I'm looking for something for us to eat, I can go to my list of meals that we like and we tend to eat a lot. So that's my meal, and our common meals like pizza. I mean, who doesn't like pizza? But, you know, we have different meats that we can always do a roast with, or some veggies, or, you know, meat veggie side. Or something like that. You know, that's pretty basic, but, you know, I'm a person that likes it written down. So if I'm in a bind or wondering what in the world I'm going to do for dinner, I have some suggestions. And what this also does is it gives me things to keep in stock. If you have flour, sugar, and other basic baking things, you can make just about anything. You can make, well, if you need yeast for breads, but you can make breads or biscuits or cookies or 900 other things, it seems. So that just gives me some basic baking items, meat to have in the freezer or the refrigerator. And we've been really blessed with a lot of meat. Veggies either from the garden, or if I need to grab potatoes, or because we consumed a ton of potatoes last year, or like I get frozen broccoli because we didn't grow that last year, and it's cheap, but you know, it adds up over time. This is what I need to have on hand to cook basic meals that I can also just expound on. You know, just because you have pasta and pasta sauce doesn't mean that you can't add veggies or Italian sausage or chicken, or, you know, different seasonings or different kinds of pasta, and add different things like that. You know, just because you have a recipe doesn't mean that you can't change it up a little bit. So that's where I'm starting as far as meal planning. And then it goes a little crazy for me. It goes to the garden, because to save money, we plant things. We plant potatoes. Even though I still have to go to the store for potatoes, we planted, I think, 13 plants, and they didn't do great. Supposedly potato plants can produce 5 to 10 pounds. I don't think we got that. We planted 13 plants, but I just don't think they produced that. I didn't weigh it out. We got a good amount, but it wasn't near enough when we can go through 3 to 5 pounds of potatoes a week. So that's where some of this comes into play. This is a chart, which I'll get into, but this is my list of garden things that I want, need, or maybe will plant. So this is my part of my garden planning. And this was another reason why I included it in my bullet journal. When I was looking up garden planning and meal planning, none of them coincided, because we can plan our meals based on what's in the freezer, the cupboard, or the pantry, or the garden, so we go through a ton of potatoes. So we're going to definitely plant potatoes. We have to plant potatoes. We also go through a fair amount of green beans. I can make green bean casserole or a tater tot casserole or straight regular green beans. Or one of my favorite things to do is take green beans, bacon, and Parmesan cheese, mix it together, maybe add a little bit of garlic powder, salt, pepper, or something, and I will make a meal out of that just because I like green beans and I like bacon. Who doesn't like bacon? Lettuce, we did go through a fair amount of salads last year, and I planted lettuce and it exploded, sort of, but we still consumed just about everything we planted, which was great, but I want to be sure to do some lettuce again. It's not super expensive at the grocery store, but it has been sprayed with different chemicals and preservatives. And I'm not a snob about that. I don't really care too much one way or the other, but if I can get it fresh from the garden, then why not? It also seems to last longer when it's been from the garden. I wash it up, I dry it as best I can, and it'll last in the refrigerator like a good week sometimes, and it's still really good quality. I've tried growing carrots in the past. It hasn't really worked, but I do like pot pies, or I do a veggie, kind of like a veggie mix for different things, or stews, and I can always chop them up, freeze them, and then pull them out for some sort of meal. Same with the peas. I think we could go through more peas if I had them in stock, but it's not really a vegetable that I use all the time. So my luck with peas is very poor, but I want to try to grow them so I can freeze them or eat them fresh. Broccoli, I probably go through, 4 cups a month, 2 to 4 cups, depending on how our meals go over the course of the week. And granted, broccoli isn't super expensive for us. It's like $1.50, maybe $2 for a I don't remember if it was a 2-pound bag or a 4-pound bag. I apologize. But a couple bucks every month adds up over time, especially if you're doing broccoli and carrots and peas and potatoes. You add all these little dollars and you get a lot of dollars. So that's another reason why we're garden planning, is because we can save money on groceries. We can save money for other things. And then onions, I go through, at least an onion a week. I like onions. And then we have a maybe plant. These are the must plant are items that I know we go through. And we go through them at a pretty good quantity. Colton loves sweet corn. We go through potatoes and sweet corn like mad. It's insane. Like, seriously, 3 to 5 pounds of potatoes a week. I don't know if any other family does that. And there's only 2 of us. So the maybe plant. These are things that I want to plant because I'm pretty sure we'll use them, but I know they aren't always the easiest. Like, I've tried growing tomatoes and peppers from seed before and it just failed. So I tried winter sowing this year. I do have a YouTube video. I'll try to link that in the description if you're interested. I just haven't, I don't know. Colton doesn't like raw tomatoes, but if I can get them all canned and stuff, then I can make sauce and diced tomatoes canned at the ready. I don't have to go to the store and get them. I don't have to pay the money for them. All I'm putting money into is the canning process, and that over the course of time can pay for itself in what we would save from the grocery store. Peppers, it's more so like a salsa factor and can I grow these factor. I did do a sweet pepper and a hot pepper. You can check those out in the winter sowing video. Garlic, I love garlic, and I do go through quite a bit of it. It's super cheap at the store in my opinion, so it's not the end of the world if I don't plant them, but it's, again, a few pennies every month that would add up over time. And plus, fresh garlic from our garden is a little bit more gratifying than going to the store and picking up mass-produced garlic. zucchini and squash. That is a maybe because I had no idea how much zucchini grew, how much it produced, and it went crazy last year, and we about got zucchinied out. So I haven't quite decided how much zucchini I'm going to do. We gave away so much, but it's another one of those things where everybody loves the fresh zucchini. Once they have the decision to do fresh from like a local farmer or market, and then they go back to the stores, it's unbelievable. I mean, the ones in the stores are maybe like this big around. Let's see. Sorry, I'm like standing in the air. They're maybe like this big around. My zucchinis, they would be like this big around and this long one day, and then they would be like football size the next day. Seriously, they got huge and they got a little out of hand. And Colton, I'm not a plant killer, so I couldn't bring myself to kill the plants. Colton kind of like accidentally trapped a couple zucchini plants in the early stages, and I about killed him because I wanted zucchini, but now I'm about zucchinied out. Moving on. Sugar snap peas. I really like them. I like them fresh and frozen, but it's another thing that I've not had very good luck in growing. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll get the gumption to do them. And like the regular peas, I'm thinking that if you harvest them early enough, they'll kind of act like a snap pea anyway. I got Tom Thumb dwarf peas, and I do finally remember why I got the dwarfs. It's because you don't have to have as much of a trellis system. It's a smaller plant. And then these are what I really want to plant. Like, I just want to plant because I'm weird. Such as loofah gourds. They just seem amazing. I mean, they're a sponge, they're a gourd, and I started a few of them in the winter sowing because they're one of my longer growing plants, and you have to harvest them before the frost. So you have to get them started early, and it looks like it can be kind of a pain to grow and harvest and process, but they just seem like so much fun. And this is also these here are actually kind of a cash crop interest for me. You know, can I sell loofahs? Can I sell broom corn? Can I sell popcorn? I'm not sure we're going to get popcorn this year, or Indian corn. I saved some Indian corn kernels from something I purchased last fall. You know, that's something interesting for us to grow and promote as a mini farm kind of. And then perennials, all these I need to move from my parents' house to Colton's and our farm. Asparagus, that's strictly a cash crop right now because I'm not sure I've ever cooked asparagus for Colton. I've had it a few times. It's okay when other people cook it. When I cook it, it doesn't ever seem to turn out right. But maybe it's because usually when other people make it for me, it's fresh. And when I get it, it's from the grocery store, and it's an insane amount. Same with the rhubarb. To me, you go down to your little old neighbor down the road and you can get free rhubarb. But to a lot of people, you have to go to the store and pay an insane amount for a pound. And it takes a couple pounds for my pies. I don't know what it takes for your pies. So you're paying quite a bit for things. We did plant an apple and a peach tree. It's probably going to take a couple more years for those to grow. I do have 3 apple trees at my parents', but I don't think that they're to the point where I can transplant them anymore. I think they're too established. We did have a peach tree, and it was gone one year, a couple years ago. It just, like, I pruned it. It was good. It looks good. Then all of a sudden it was just dead. Gone. Strawberries, we gotta check those out because they may or may not have survived last summer's weed jungle in the garden. Blueberries, I got to transplant. I got a blackberry bush I need to transplant and divide. And then the rhubarb. I love rhubarb. Anyway, this video is getting a little long and I apologize, but I have more to tell you. What we eat, this goes along with our meal planning. These are items that we do eat. How much I think we eat per week, and then I multiply that to find out how much I thought we'd eat per year. I wanted to know how much one plant produced, and sometimes it varies depending on the source. And it'll also vary depending on the grow season. Every season's going to be different. And then in order to achieve the amount we need per year, how many plants do we need to plant? So for instance, potatoes, we eat between 2 and 3 pounds per week. Sometimes more, sometimes less. So per year, we need 100 to 200 pounds. Sounds like a lot, but if you're like us and you like potatoes, you like mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, fried, potato salad, you name it, we'll eat it. You need a lot of pounds. So one plant produces 5 to 10 pounds on a good year. So we need 10 to 20 plants in order to equal that 100 to 200 pounds. It sounds like a lot, but over the course of time, as you whittle it down, it's not as much as you think. And last year, like I said, we did plant 13 plants, but they didn't produce great. And then was it enough last year? No, it wasn't. It barely lasted a couple months, to be honest. I don't know how much for sure that we produced, but it wasn't enough. So I know we need to plant probably 20 plants, unless they like explode this year. But even then, potatoes, if we process them right, should last us quite a bit. And if not, I'll just pawn them off on friends and family or something. So that is how that is going to apply to my garden for this year. How much do we eat? How many plants do we need to plant in order to produce that amount? And then we can save money with our groceries and our meal bills. I also did this little chart. I don't know if you guys have a kindergartner teacher like mine was, but we did this little graph thing of a gallon. And I was constantly looking up the conversions for my garden plan. Drew this like we did in kindergarten. 1 gallon equals 4 quarts equals 8 pints equals, now I gotta look it up, 16 cups. And 1 cup equals 8 ounces, so a gallon has 128 ounces. Now that is fluid ounces, but it gives me a good guesstimate of how things work. And then I also did a chart of each. So like 4 cups equals 1 quart or a quarter of a gallon. 8 cups equals 2 quarts or a half gallon. You know, I did that for each system, and it just really helped me. I was like, why didn't I think of this sooner? But you know, it just helps me diagram that. What I'll probably do is start taking pictures and put them on the website, www.JCT Rustic Homestead, and then you guys can look at it there and get a better idea of it, if it's something that would work for you, or you want to, you know, change it up a little bit. That's fine. This is just like I said, a chart we did in kindergarten. I'm not copywriting it, but I also hope that some of these things can help you save money, produce food for your family. Like, I grew up in a farming family. Colton grew up in a farming family, and he had a garden more than we did. My mom wasn't really a gardener, and that was fine. But you know, we were on a limited budget for everything. So, I figured this is a good way for us to save money, and it's kind of hard sometimes, but it's worth it. And another thing you also have to factor, you may not have the space for all of this, and that's fine. And you may not have the time for all of this. That is something else to consider. We can afford to put time into the garden, whereas other people can't. So time is valuable, especially when it's your personal time. And there may come a day when we can't invest so much time into the garden. So then I'll have to run to the store. But for now, we can save money on groceries and food by planting a good garden and being proactive about it for the year to come. So I hope this helps you guys out. Let me know in the comments what you like, what you didn't like, if you have any other suggestions, or if there's more information that you would like to know about. Again, we're JCT Rustic Homestead. You can check us out at jctrustichomestead.com or on Facebook, JCT Rustic Homestead. and consider liking the video, subscribing to the page, and thanks for joining me.